Happy Friday. Another weekend. I mean, weekends are obviously everyone's favorite. Who wouldn't want to have relaxing, couple of days so that you can take away your mind from the regular things. But to be honest, I kind of like my life. I mean, I'm super, super grateful for everything in my life. My job is amazing. My hobbies, like in terms of comedy and other things, are going great. I mean, I know I could do better, but at the same time, I'm not falling back. I'm not digging my hole and sinking in. So that's a progress, right? Uh, but I gotta get better at everything, including doing this. Yeah, I know. It's been almost been a week since I did that, if I recall correctly. Honestly, I don't remember, but I feel that this doing this actually helps me a lot because I am just having this conversation. Maybe it's a one-sided conversation, but still, I feel like I'm having an interaction with you, and at the same time, the mystery of not knowing what we're gonna do or um, um, what we're gonna come across during our time together, that excites me more than anything. So, without any delay, let's get started. So, if you are joining me for the very first time, then maybe give you an overview. What I do is just talk random shit. That's what it is. But we pick our randomness. So we use the randomness to choose the random platform for us. And once we get a random platform, then we go on some random article or review or tweet and just talk about it, right? Simple enough. What could be simpler than that? I mean, I'm literally letting uh, the AI, or to be grandiose, the universe decide what we're gonna do today. But in my mind, it sounds dope. I like that. All right, so let's see what option are we going to review. Wikipedia, it is. Yeah, so the best part of Wikipedia is that we have this option called random article on the left sidebar. And if you don't know, that will take us to some random article on Wikipedia. So we're gonna go there and just review, or either we're gonna learn something new or we're gonna update ourselves and correct ourselves, um, or at the very least we'll probably find out some of the dumbest thing ever. So who knows what kind of journey we gonna we gonna be on for. But before I do that, I want to review some of the ongoing news. So William Ruto is elected president of Kenya. Well, I have no idea about your policies, Mr. Ruto, but I'm hoping you will do the right thing for the people. In Giza, Egypt, a church fire spreads to a nursery and kills 41 people, including at least 18 children. Wow. The wrath of God. Kind of wonder why God chose a third world country, which has very less economic resource to begin with, and on top of that, I bet a lot of the things there are not in order. Like if there is a fire, there are not good resources, maybe lack of water or lack of funding to have fire department or effective fire department, who knows. But out of all the places, if there is a God, out of all the places, and if you, God, have to throw your wrath, I guess, on people, then why would you pick the worst place? Worst place where the amount of victims gonna be maximum. Why don't you pick some random abandoned church? Yeah, just lit those random abandoned church on fire, uh, because it fulfills both. It fulfills your wrath and also save at least 18 children. Okay. Salman Rushdie is critically injured after a stabbing at a speech in the U.S. So it looks like he's still recovering. So that's positive. Uh, and finally, a mass fish kill occurs in the river Oder in Poland and Germany. Okay, I am aware of this. I'm like they have some sort of ritual to kill fishes. Um, Wait a second. This is completely different. This is okay. I'm glad I didn't, uh, you know, uh, said something I didn't have had a clue about. But I was referring to one Scandinavian country who has this annual ritual of killing fishes, or maybe like one particular fish. I don't remember if it were killing dolphins or sharks or, all fishes. But it's actually pretty nasty if you look at it. I mean, there are barbaric traditions all around the world, and some barbaric traditions are imposed on other people, others are imposed on the nature. Regardless, I feel we shouldn't be uh, we shouldn't be barbaric to anyone. I mean, at the very least, right? But I get it. The nature is scary, so if you don't, um, I shouldn't. I don't want to say contain, but if you don't figure out a way to kind of control the population of species like say mosquitoes or any other predators, then they gonna pretty much rule the entire planet, or at least the places they can freely roam. I mean, I can imagine like snakes and spiders. They thrive in the warmer regions, so they still will remain in the warmer region, even if they sort of overpopulate it. Um, I I would be surprised to see a snake in a polar region or any cold place for that matter. And so, even though we know that there are species of animals which can devastate populations, I think that stats is still lower, meaning they are still confined within their geographical region. And I bet like even though a lot of birds and animals migrate over seasons, but I still feel that even with that migration pattern, and if they're a higher population density, um, it will take a while to kind of rule the world as we are doing. Uh, but I digress. All right, let's check out today's featured article. Oh, and it's a good topic. I love this topic. Confirmation bias is a tendency for people to favor information that confirms their preconceptions. As a result, people recall information from memory selectively and interpret it in a biased way, in particular for emotionally significant issues. and established beliefs. Biased search, interpretation, and recall have been invoked to explain attitude polarization, which means disagreeing parties diverging further when they are exposed to the same evidence, as well as belief perseverance, which means beliefs persisting after the evidence for them is shown to be false, and the primacy effect, which means the data encountered early in a series being given more weight, and illusory correlation, which means people falsely perceiving an association between two events or situations. Explanation for these biases include wishful thinking and the limited human capacity to process information. Confirmation biases contribute to overconfidence in personal beliefs and can maintain or strengthen beliefs in the face of contrary evidence. This can lead to disastrous decisions, especially in organizational, military, and political contexts. All right, now let's dive into what you all are waiting for, the random article. And we're gonna learn about Yusi Ino. I'm hoping I pronounced his name right. If I didn't, sorry, Yoshi. Yosui. Sorry, Yosui. So, Yosui is a Japanese singer, lyricist, composer, guitarist, and record producer who is an important figure in Japanese music. He's renowned for his unique tone, eccentric lyrics, and dark sunglasses, which he always wears. Nice. Wow, he's been active since 1969. So, dude is 73, so I gotta check out. Maybe he's like older photo? What? What? How? How can a major, no, not a major, an important figure in Japanese music don't even have a photo on Wikipedia? That's not good, Wiki. You could do better. All right. Anyways, so under the stage name Andre Kandre, debuted in 1969 and released a single, Kandre Mandre, by CBS Sony Records. After he changed his stage name and signed on to Polydor, he recorded his first studio album, Danzitsu, in 1971, and the album was acclaimed by critics. Ino gained recognition as a folk rock singer songwriter through his 1973 Kori no Sekai album, which became the first long playing record that sold more than 1 million copies in Japan alone. His early work has been compared with the music of Paul McCartney and Roy Orbison. Mark Anderson writes in the Encyclopedia of Contemporary Japanese Culture. His music was smart, melancholy, and melodic. Ino's work of the early 1970s is widely thought to have been a significant influence on the development of Japanese pop rock. Ino has released 22 solo studio albums and also produced 2 albums with Tamio Okuda. He has been one of the most commercially successful Japanese male solo recording artists of the last 40 years, selling in excess of 10.9 million copies on the country's Oricon Albums chart up to May 2009, and has had 7 number 1 albums: Kori no Sekai, Nishoku no Koma, Good Pages, Shotaijo no Nai Show, 9.5 Carats, Under the Sun, and compilation Golden Beast, which was released in 1999 and has shipped over 2 million units. Kind of interested in checking out his music style. These are more like the events happened in his life. Uh, is there any way we can find what type of music? Oh, sometimes Wikipedia has this embedded audio uh, player. So, hoping that. Nope. But I did see some. Hmm. Yeah. I'm gonna check out his discography. Discography? What is discography? Oh, just the albums. In the history of Japanese Oricon weekly singles chart, Yosoi Ino has produced 41 charting singles with sales of 4.8 million copies in total. So, wish there was some way to kind of not leave Wikipedia and able to understand what kind of music he plays. Maybe somewhere here. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. On August 30, 1948, Akimi Ino was born in Kubukuro, Kaho District, Fukuoka, Japan. His father, Wakami Inuo, was a dentist who had formerly worked as a surgeon for the Japanese army during World War II and wanted his sole son to take over the business of his clinic. When Akimi was 6 years old, he moved to Itoda, Tagawa, with his family and spent his childhood there until he decided to become a musician. The existence of the Beatles inflated Ino's interest in music at a young age. Around 1966, Ino is said to have written his first song, so that was like almost 18 years? Yeah. This song has never been recorded, but Ino has performed the song occasionally during his concerts. Well, early career, Andre Kandre. In 1969, he recorded the song Kandre Mandre at his house in order to be played on the radio program Smash 11, which was aired on RKB Mainichi Broadcasting. It received a lot of requests from listeners of the program, but in fact, most of them were from Ino's friends. However, favorable reaction gave him an opportunity to make a debut. He moved to Tokyo and recorded Kandre Mandre at the studio with the arranger Hitoshi Komuro and his band, Rokumonsen. A newly recorded version of the song was released as a single by the CBS Sony label in September 1969 under the distinctive stage name Andre Kandre. He anticipated that Kandre Mandre would gain success, but it did not receive any commercial reaction. Andor Candor released three singles, but follow ups Beautiful, Wonderful Birds and Hana Nisei, Tori Nisei, Let Our Hearts Be, composed by Takeshi Matsuyama and Kazuhiko Kato, also failed commercially. Wow. The results of his earliest projects were not outstanding. Close relationships with some musicians who worked with him at that time continued for years. Particularly Hitoshi Komuro supported Ino till he became a star. Then unknown Kiyoshiro Imawano, a frontman of RC Succession, wrote several songs including Karen Nel Futari and Machiboku with Ino. From 1971 to 75, Polydor years. In 1971, Ino contracted with the Polydor Records with the support of the company's director Hidenori Taga and launched the recording of his first studio album entitled Dansetsu. The album features Takao Kisuoki, who was still not debuted as a singer-songwriter on guitar. He changed stage name to Yusoi Ino and debuted again under the Polydor in the following years. His first single was Jinsei ga Nido Areba, a song later included on the Denzetsu album. It featured his emotional vocals akin to sobbing. Later material also features similar extremely melancholic renditions. Yumi no Nakae, a song somewhat more accessible than his previous effort, was released as a single in March 1973 and became the first hit for Ino, entering the top 20 on the Japanese Oricon chart. To promote Ino's popularity, Polydor asked him to record a new album. Thereupon, he recorded concerts held at Shinjuku Konsei Nenkin Kaikan on April 14, 1973. It was issued as a live album Modoremichi in that year's July. During the mid 1970s, the album was successful owing to the hits of its follow ups. It is still one of the best selling live recording albums on the Japanese albums chart, selling over 800,000 copies. Kori no Sekai, the third studio album recorded by Inu and released in December 1973, led him to stardom. It received unprecedented commercial success in the history of Japanese music industry at the time. Kori no Sekai topped Oricon album chart for 35 weeks, longest ever, and remained the top 10 for 113 weeks. The album retailed in excess of a million copies in 1975, becoming the first million-selling album in Japan. Nishoku no Koma, a follow-up to Kori no Sekai, released in 1974, also topped the chart and retained its position for 10 consecutive weeks. The album features harder arrangements than his early folk-oriented albums, enlisting the studio musicians including David T. Walker, Jesse Ed Davis, Ray Parker Jr., Harvey Mason, and Jack Nitzsche. Eno reached the pinnacle of his popularity as a musician in the mid 1970s, the breakthrough providing him with the nickname Emperor of Japanese Folk Rock, and introduced his more early effort to listeners. The songs including Jensei ga Nido Areba, Aiwa Gimi, Kasa ga Nai, Sumetai Heya no Sekai Shuzu, Yoru no Bus, Natsu Matsuri, Kanazuki ni Kakomara Rite, Kami Hikoki, Noko no Shima no Katamoi became popular particularly. That's probably the most what do you call? That's like the most Japanese words I've pronounced ever. I mean, even when I was doing Aikido, I did not pronounce or try to pronounce so many words. Anyway, from 1975 to 1990, his fifth studio album, Shotaijo no Nine Show, was released in 1976 under the newly founded label For Life, which was distributed by Canyon Records. Project of forming a record label was initiated by Hitoshi Komuro and Takuro Yoshida, and Inoue and Shigeru Izumiya joined as the co-founders. It was the first example that Japanese musicians came to control a record label. Inoue has released all their albums and singles through for Life for over 30 years. Although the label has changed its distributing company several times. Inoue, I'll say Ino. Sorry if it's pronounced something different. Ino contributed 3 songs for Sari Ishikawa, a singer married to him in 1978, on her 1977 Kimakure album. One of them, Dance wa Umaku Odirenai, was later converted by an actress Mio Takagi and became a hit. The US studio musicians who took part in the recordings of Eno's album tempted him to take the drugs, which were rigidly prohibited in his home country. In late July 77, he purchased marijuana tobacco called Buddha sticks, and he was arrested in September for possession of them, followed by other 60 Japanese celebrities became because of similar suspicions. Made his comeback as a musician later in the same year and released an album called White in 1978. But his popularity was lost hugely owing to his law breaking. Well, I can I can see why, because Japan is very um, law-abiding country. So, in 1980, album titled "Every Night Is the Effort" that Kat Hoshi, an arranger who had worked on Ino's work since Danzetsu album, did not participate in the recording for the first time. Production of his recording was radically changed at that time, featuring alternative arrangers including Masayoshi Takanaka, who participated in Ino's 1979 Sneaker Dancer album, and Yuji Kawashima, also known by pseudonym Banana, who has worked with Ino since Ayashi Yoru wo Mate album released in 1981 and been one of the significant collaborators for him. Except for a hit single, Jealousy, most of Ino's efforts after his comeback were not as successful as his previous works. But some materials like Nazeka Shanghai, Umi Kinasai, Tomado Perican, and Canary are regarded as his notable songs throughout his career. In addition, Riverside Hotel was widely recognized and becoming a hit in later years. All right, this is interesting. I mean, I love the journey that he have to, I shouldn't say he have to, but he went through so many failures before he tasted the success, and he was arrested for possessing marijuana. I mean, sure, that's one of the hot topics still across the world, right? Because um, yeah, because because people are still stupid, you know. Uh, why? Why do? I mean, mostly, I think the weed is pretty obvious because it's trying to, it's being suppressed. Uh, uh, it's the weed is a natural substance, and the the people from all over the world, most or almost all civilizations have been, using it forever. So banning it is the stupidest, dumbest thing. I mean, if you want to ban something, you could ban on, say, chemicals, lab-grown chemicals, which are more dangerous and harmful than the than the natural way how weed and a lot of other substances grow. Um, yeah, it is. It is dumb, and especially even like I said, like a lot of people are still suffering because of that. Like for instance, Brittany Griner, she is a basketball player, and she went to Russia, and they arrested her, and they're gonna prosecute her, and who knows what kind of time she would have to spend. And a lot of it is also politics. I mean, I bet she might have gotten away with it if uh, U.S. and Russia are not on in this proxy conflict or proxy war. But at the same time, it's the dumbest move from Russia to arrest a basketball player who happened to be woman and black. Because let's be honest, if it was a white male athlete, maybe the government would have done more. The U.S. government would have done more, uh, or who knows? I mean, the the whole situation is kind of chaos. So I don't want to speculate and say that the Biden and his uh, employees or Biden and his administration for they care. Well, I lost my train of thought, but the point I'm making is, I mean, no matter who comes into power, there is this drag, there is this delay in setting up the process, mitigating the process, and at and to be honest, like a lot of people who goes on into power like have been corporate hacks, so they end up granting more benefits to their corporate donors. So Biden is not that different. So I would not expect him to act in a manner which helps majority of the people. I mean, it needs spine for that. Uh, but at the same time, Trump was even worse. So pick your poison, I guess. Anyways, let's check out something else. What do I want to know? I did hear about Fukuoka. Is that the same nuclear? Sorry, not nuclear. Is that the same location where they had the nuclear meltdown? Let me see. I'm gonna search for nuclear. Is there a nuclear? No. Okay, so maybe I'm confusing it with some other region. Clearly. All right. So Fukuoka, Fukuoka Prefecture in Japanese, it says Fukuoka-ken, is a prefecture of Japan located on the island of Kyushu. Fukuoka Prefecture has a population of 5 million people and has a geographic area of almost 5,000 square kilometers. Fukuoka Prefecture borders Saga Prefecture to the southwest, Kumamoto Prefecture to the south, and Oita Prefecture to the southeast. What in the world is prefecture? Japan is divided into 47 prefectures, which rank immediately below the national government and form the country's first level of jurisdiction and administrative division. They include 43 prefectures proper, two urban prefectures, one circuit or territory, and one metropolis. Okay, so it's kind of like a state. All right, so Fukuoka Prefecture includes the former provinces of Chikugo, Chikuzen, and Buzen. And there are shrines and temples like Koda Taisha, Sumiyoshi Jinya, and Hakozaki-gu are the chief Shinto shrines in the prefecture. 5 million people in 5,000 square kilometer. Wow. I mean, I bet Tokyo is the most densest population place on the planet. Or is it? I mean, it could be Bangladesh too. I like one of the cities, maybe Dhaka in Bangladesh. Very interesting to see. I'll check it out. But Fukuoka Prefecture faces the sea on three sides, bordering Saga, Oita, and Kumamoto, Kumamoto prefectures and facing Yamaguchi prefecture across the Kanman Straits. As of 1st April 2012, 18% of the land area of the prefecture was designated as natural parks. Setonaikai National Park, Genkai, Kitakyushu, and Yabahita Hikosan quasi national parks, and Shikugogawa, Shikuho, Dazaifu, Sifuri Raizan, and Yapegawa prefectural natural parks. Fukuoka includes the two largest cities on Kyushu, Fukuoka and Kitakyushu, and much of Kyushu's industry. It also includes a number of small islands near the north coast of Kyushu. And some of the cities, oh, there are 29 cities. And okay, I'm going to read, try to read each and every one of them. Asakura, Buzen, Shikugo, Shikushino, Dazaifu, Fukuoka, Fukutsu, Lizuka, Itoshima, Kama, Kasuga, Kitakyushu, Koga, Kurume, Miyama, Miyawaka, Munakata, Nakagawa, Nakama, Nogata, Ogori, Okawa, Omuta, Onojo, Tagawa, Ukiha, Yame, Yanagawa, Yukuhashi. Okay, I think if I have to say, I think I might have at least landed 50% of it. And then there are towns and villages. Well, I could go over all of them. Then there's demographics, cultural things, sports. The sports teams listed before are based in Fukuoka. So there is football, baseball, basketball, rugby. And from crime and safety standpoint, Fukuoka Prefecture has the most designated Yakuza groups among all of the prefectures. At 5, the Kudokai, the Taishukai, the Fukuhakukai, the Dojinkai, and the Kyushu Sidokai. Between 2004 and 2009 and in early 2011, Fukuoka Prefecture led the nation in gun-related incidents. These incidents were mostly related to the local Yakuza syndicates, specifically the Kudokai, the Dojinkai, and the Kyushu Seidokai. Fukuoka Prefecture had the highest frequency of youth crime among the prefectures of Japan from 2003 to 2007. According to statistics from the National Police, the crime rate in Fukuoka was the 8th highest in 2017, lower than in Osaka, Tokyo, Hoyoko, Aichi, Saitama, Shiba, and Ibaraki. Wow, so it has highest frequencies of youth crime, but nationally speaking, it's eighth the highest. But I heard so many things about Yakuza that I wanna check out. Yakuza! It sounds pretty amazing. Sound wise. Or it's Gokudo? Wait, what? Also known as Gokudo. Okay. I'm sure we're going to find out the meaning of the word and the history of that. So, Yakuza, also known as Gokudo, are members of transnational organized crime syndicates originating in Japan. The Japanese police and media, by request of the police, call them Boryokudan, which means violent groups, while the Yakuza call themselves Ninkyo Dantai, which means chivalrous organizations, of course. The English equivalent for the term Yakuza is gangster, meaning an individual involved in a mafia like criminal organization. The Yakuza are known for their strict codes of conduct, their organized fiefdom nature, and several unconventional ritual practices such as yubitsume or amputation of the left little finger. Members are often portrayed as males wearing sharp suits with heavily tattooed bodies and slicked hair. Wow. This group is still regarded as being among the most sophisticated and wealthiest criminal organizations. Why does that parallels with the Italian mafia? They all wear sharp sharp suits and possibly tattooed with slicked hair. So, at their height, the Yakuza maintained a large presence in the Japanese media and operated internationally. At their peak in the early 1960s, police estimated that the Yakuza had a membership of more than 200,000. However, this number has drastically dropped, a decline attributed to changing market opportunities and several legal and social developments in Japan, which discouraged the growth of Yakuza membership. Of course, the social developments always help people or youth, to be specific, to 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 get on the right path. All right, so the Yakuza still regularly engage in an array of criminal activities, and many Japanese citizens still remain fearful of the threat these individuals pose to their safety. There remains no strict prohibition on Yakuza membership in Japan today, although much legislation has been passed by the Japanese government aimed at impending revenue and increasing liabilities for criminal activities. So the notable clans or members are Yamaguchi Gumi, Sumiyoshi Kai, and Inagawa Kai. And their territory ranged from Japan, with some in South Korea and western US, particularly Kanto, Tokyo, Kyoto, Chubu, Hawaii, and California. And it's been presumed to be originated from Kabukimono. Okay, I'm kind of interested in checking out each of these things. Uh, this is kind of funny. Chivalry, or the chivalric code, is an informal and varying code of conduct developed between 1172 and 1220. It was associated with the medieval Christian institute of knighthood. Knights and gentlemen's behavior were governed by chivalrous social codes. That'd be interesting. I'm gonna just open it in a new tab. Oh, I was curious to learn more about this. What is this? A fief was the central element of feudalism. It consisted of heritable property or rights granted by an overlord to a vassal who held it in fealty in return for a form of feudal allegiance and service, usually given by the personal ceremonies of homage and fealty. Yubutsume or Otoshime. Yubutsume or Otoshime is a Japanese ritual to atone for offenses to another, a way to be punished or to show sincere apology and remorse to another by means of amputating portions of one's own little finger. In modern times, it is primarily performed by the Yakuza. Oh, there is a card game. All right, I don't think we checked this out, but before we dive there, I want to check out this. Katakana is a Japanese syllabary, one component of the Japanese writing system, along with hiranga kanji, and in some cases the Latin script. The word katakana means fragmentary kana, as the katakana characters are derived from components or fragments of more complex kanji. Kabukimono or Hatamoto Yako were gangs of samurai in feudal Japan. First appeared in the Azuchi Momoyama period as the turbulent Sengoku period drew to a close. Kabukimono were either ronin, wandering samurai, or men who had once worked for samurais. The sixth Yamaguchi Gumi is Japan's largest Yakuza organization. The sixth Yamaguchi Gumi is Japan's largest Yakuza organization. It is named after its founder, Harukichi Yamaguchi. Its origins can be traced back to a loose labor union for dock workers in Kobe before World War I. The Sumiyoshi Kai, sometimes referred to as the Sumiyoshi Rengo, is the second largest Yakuza Japan. Yakuza Japan, seriously. So, the Sumiyoshi Kai, sometimes referred to as Sumiyoshi Rengo, is the second largest Yakuza group in Japan with an estimated 4,000 members. The Inagawa Kai is the third largest of Japan's Yakuza groups, which the Inagawa Kai is the third largest of Japan's Yakuza group with approximately 3,100 members. It is based in the Kanto region and was one of the first Yakuza organizations to begin operating overseas. Respect. No. So, the etymology. The name Yakuza originates from the traditional Japanese card game Oichokabu, a name in which the goal is to draw 3 cards, adding up to a score of 9. If the sum of the cards exceeds 10, its second digit is used as a score instead. And if the sum is exactly 10, the score is 0. If the 3 cards drawn are 8, 9, 3, producing Yakuza in Japan, the sum is 20 and therefore the score is 0, making it the worst possible hand that can be drawn. In Japanese, the word Yakuza is commonly written in katakana. But I'm still not following. What's the relevant? So it originates from that card game, and the goal is to draw 3 cards and get to the 9. Okay, so if they exceed, sure, they have rules. And if they get 8-9-3 combo, it's the worst possible. But how is it tied up to the game? Let's check out. Oichokabu is a traditional Japanese card game that is similar to Baccarat. It is typically played with special Kabufuda cards. A Hanafuda deck can also be used. If the last 2 months are discarded, and Western playing cards can be used if the face cards are removed from the deck. If the last 2 months are discarded? No idea what that means. But This dude, he was a Yakuza boss. Shimizu Zirocho or Chogoro Yamamoto. I bet a lot of these people are also part of samurai or, different martial arts. Okay. Let's check out some of the rituals. Wait, before structure, I don't care about them. Well, I do care about the structure. Let's check out the structure of the biggest gangs in Japan. During the formation of the Yakuza, they adopted the traditional Japanese hierarchical structure of Oyabun Kobun, where Kobun mean foster child, owe their allegiance to the Oyabun. It means foster parent. In a much later period, the code of Jingai, which means justice and duty, was developed where loyalty and respect are a way of life. The Oyabun Kobun relationship is formalized by ceremonial sharing of sake, I guess, yeah, from a single cup. This ritual is not exclusive to the Yakuza. It is also commonly performed in traditional Japanese Shinto weddings and may have